My boyfriend and I were sitting in a restaurant. John gallantly filled my glass and then suddenly pointed the camera at me and lifted the dough. I almost threw up. The plate was crawling with cockroaches. John whispered, "Eat them." I hesitated and couldn't make up my mind. They were moving. And suddenly the woman at the next table, seeing the cockroaches, screamed. We were immediately captured by the guards. I tried to pull away, and John was yelling that I'd ruined the prank. At this rate, I would never save up for my mom's treatment. A lump rose in my throat. After my dad cheated on my mom, she started having heart problems. Now she needed an expensive surgery. I was the only one who could help. I took any part-time job, but it wasn't enough. That all changed when I met John in college. He was the most popular guy in our year. All the girls were crazy about him. But John chose me. We had a relationship like in the movies. Even when John found out about my situation, he did not turn away, but offered to shoot pranks with him. If we became well-known bloggers, money would flow. Since then, we had been constantly shooting for TikTok and YouTube. We wrapped toilet paper around the campus or put rats in the chemistry room. It was terrible, but John kept saying it was all for popularity. In the end, I always agreed with him. Once we even dressed up as homeless people and went to a jewelry store. The seller tried to serve us, but then got angry. We barely got away from the cops, which she called. After this prank, we were massively subscribed to. The audience liked it. Soon I had my first money. But I didn't think it would end up with prison. John was yelling that I'd ruined everything. I shrank back against the wall in fright. He had never treated me like this before. But while we were being driven to the station, John calmed down and then gently stroked my cheek and apologized. I smiled. "It's all right, honey. I understand." We were in the cell for about 5 hours. I couldn't stop thinking about my mother. She probably was worried. But then the door opened and a cop yelled that we'd been bailed out and we were free. Wait, but who did it? The cop said to hurry up. Somebody was waiting for us in the lobby. Looked at each other. We went there and immediately noticed a man in an expensive suit. With a grin, he introduced himself as Buddy. It turned out that he was in the restaurant and saw our prank with cockroaches. And he thought it was funny and brave. But why did he decide to release us? And suddenly Buddy said mysteriously that he had a special offer for us. Can we discuss it over a cup of coffee? He chuckled. I whispered to John that this guy was suspicious, but John had already told Buddy that he agreed to everything. Then he said, "Don't you want to help your mother?" We went to a coffee shop nearby. Buddy gave us an arrogant look that sent a chill down my spine and said he was planning a huge prank. It turned out that he had been following our channel for a long time and realized that we were a perfect match. And what was the prank? Buddy grinned. We were supposed to be at the bank at 6 this evening. Was that all? But he added that it was not that simple. I had to become a dog. What did he mean? Buddy explained I would be in a dog suit and John would lead me to the bank on a leash. I slumped back in my chair. Why would you do that? Then Buddy calmly said that this was just a protest against the ban on coming to the bank with animals. "I'll give you $5,000 each for this." Buddy finished. John's eyes lit up immediately, and I knew he was about to agree. I immediately pulled him back. "John, why don't we talk this out?" We moved aside, and I immediately blurted out that being a dog on a leash was humiliating. It was some kind of slavery and belittled the rights of women, and not a fun joke at all. But then John looked at me in the eye and said it would be alright. With this money, I could cure my mother, and we would have some left for a good life. I got little butterflies in my stomach. "Yes, John, you're right, as always." We went to Buddy and said we agreed. He immediately gave us a part of the advance and money to buy a leash and a collar. He also added that we could keep the change. With that, we said our goodbyes. I looked at the money and didn't believe it was true. I suggested to John that we celebrate at my house, but he said he'd better go get the leash. "Okay, I'll see you tonight." But as soon as I went home, I immediately felt something was wrong. The apartment was suspiciously quiet. I rushed into the bedroom, where my mom lay motionless on the bed. "Mommy, what's wrong with you?" She said the cops called her and told her about our arrest. It made her feel worse. Mom asked me if I couldn't see John manipulating me. "Because of him, you even stopped communicating with your friends," my mother said. I was getting tired of explaining to her that John was just very worried and forbade to go out without him. I took out the money. We can have the surgery soon, and it's all thanks to John. Suddenly, Mom turned pale and clutched at her heart. For a second, I froze in horror. God, what have I done? I ran over and took the last pill out of the pack with trembling hands. Mom, hold on. She swallowed it hard and whispered to me to leave John. He was a dangerous man. I would find out soon enough. I didn't dare protest. All I said was that she needed some new pills, and I would go get them now. I got to the pharmacy quickly, and as I was leaving with the drugs, I suddenly noticed John on the other side of the street. What's he doing here? Then Buddy came to him. They went together to a cafe nearby. Strange. Why would John go out with Buddy without me? I pulled my hood up and followed them in. I need to find out what's going on. They sat down at a table not far from the bar. I quickly sat down at the bar, shaking with tension. I hoped they wouldn't notice me. I listened. Oddly, John spoke to Buddy as if he were an old acquaintance. This little fool always listens to me and won't guess anything. Today we were going to rob the bank. John said solemnly, "Wait, this is a joke, right?" But Buddy nodded and said that while everyone was staring at my stupid dog costume, he would sneak into the vault. John laughed unpleasantly, and then I realized John and Buddy wanted to use me. I couldn't believe it. John was my boyfriend. He only shot harmless pranks, not robbing banks. I was in so much pain. I immediately jumped up and ran for the exit, and then the waitress turned a corner. We ran into each other. The tray fell to the floor, and everyone stared at us. My stomach went cold with horror. I looked around. John and Buddy were already on their way to me. Oh my god. I quickly ran out of the cafe. My heart was pounding, but I couldn't stop. John knew I heard everything. At that moment, I was grabbed and a hand clamped over my mouth. I started to kick, but John was so much stronger. He dragged me somewhere. No, let go. But he just shoved me into the car. I was shaking. John, why are you doing this to me? He laughed. He never gave a damn about me. He just could make good money on such a fool on TikTok. But now he was going to hit a really big jackpot. I looked away to hide my tears. No, I will not participate in the robbery. Then John grabbed me roughly by the chin and told me that I would be his slave not just today, but for the rest of my life, if I don't want anything to happen to my mom. At that moment, Buddy came. He opened the door and reached for me, a metal collar in his hand. "Let me go, you idiot!" I struggled and screamed, but John held me tight, and Buddy put the collar and the muzzle on me to keep me quiet. Soon we were at the bank. John pushed me out of the car and led me on the leash to the bank. I felt terribly broken, but I thought one thing. I needed to stop them. John took me to the bank and immediately shouted, "Freedom to the animals!" I wanted the ground to swallow me up when everyone looked at us. What a shame. The guard came towards us. Then I saw Buddy at the end of the room, and the chill went through me. No, I won't be a slave. I'll save the people, and then I'll get my mom out of town right away. John will never find us. I exhaled and made up my mind. Mom, you'll be proud of me soon. Then I abruptly pulled off the muzzle and shouted that it was a robbery. I hoped that Buddy would be captured immediately, but instead there was a commotion. The guards looked around in confusion. Come on, catch the robber! But suddenly they grabbed us and dragged us to the exit. No, you don't understand. Buddy is the robber. He's there, but the guards wouldn't listen. At that moment, Buddy, who was lurking at the cash register, gave a smug wink. John hissed that I'd messed it up again. No way! I stepped hard on the guard's foot, and he let me go for a second. That was enough. I immediately rushed back. Buddy was already threatening the terrified employee, and she was putting money in his bag. You will answer for everything. I ran up and jumped on his back. I needed to give time for the employee to call the police. Buddy tried to throw me off, but I held on tight. But suddenly Buddy spun around, and I fell to the floor and hit my head. The last thing I heard was the sound of police sirens. I woke up with a terrible headache. I looked around and realized that I was in a hospital room. My God, John was sitting on the next bunk. Looking at me straight, he told me that Buddy was behind bars and that we were considered heroes. Suddenly, John leapt up to me and pinned me against the wall. He hissed at me not to turn him in. I remembered what he said, didn't I? Of course. And threats and blackmail, I was John's plaything from the start, but I had to get stronger to understand that. Instantly, I grabbed a leash and wrapped it around John's arms. He didn't even have time to recover. Security! Over here! I'm not John's doggy anymore, and I won't let somebody push me around. A month later, John was put in jail. He glared at me all through the trial, but I was calm. The fear of John was gone, as was the love. And then, on the city day, I got a bonus for helping the police. My mom was so proud of me. The money was enough for the surgery, and now I was calm. I remember the story with a smile now. I learned not to be manipulated and to rely only on myself. And once again, I was convinced that honesty is the main thing of wealth. Did you like the video? Subscribe and like it. Support the channel. Thank you.